Regarding the trials of China's former Deputy Minister of State Security Ma Jian, on Thursday, December 27, 2018, we witnessed the sentencing of Mr. Ma Jian, former Deputy Minister of Ministries of State Security. Because the so-called public trials of Ma Jian involved me, Guo Wengui, I now offered my official statement with respect to this matter. First, procedurally, Ma Jian's case was unlawful every step of the way. It was a political setup in the purest sense. From the time Ma Jian was arrested in January 2015, 18 of my family members and 270 of my employees have been arrested. Another 6,000 of my employees were also restricted from traveling abroad. From the time they began carrying out their arrest and establishing their case, the CCP's so-called Central Commissions for the Discipline Inspection and their task force have followed no legal procedures and offered no justification. The charges against Ma Jian and his arrest were in violation of the law. It is part of the campaign which began at the beginning of the 18th National Congress, led by the Standing Committee of the Politburo of the CCP Central Committee to eliminate political enemies in the name of anti-corruption. It is similar to the previous political movement during the Cultural Revolution. Second, the case against Ma Jian was fabricated by a kleptocracy trade within the 18th CCP Central Committee. Wang Qishan, Meng Jianzhu, and other members have arrested and silenced their opponents as a part of their power grab. Over the past few decades, Ma Jian was responsible for internal corruption investigations within the Chinese Communist Party and was the only person who knew all the details. This includes Ma Jian being responsible for the investigation from 2003 until 2008. Under a directive from then acting CCP Chairman Hu Jintao into claims of tremendous corruption by then acting mayor of Beijing Wang Qishan and then acting deputy mayors Liu Zhihua with respect to projects associated with the 2008 Summer Olympic Games. The investigation by Ma Jian offended them, and as a result, Wang Qishan, Meng Jianzhu, and others have carried out a political attack of the retribution, silencing their opponents via political assassinations. Third, Deputy Minister Ma Jian's case perfectly illustrates the Chinese rule of law and the intelligence network arranged by China domestically and abroad. As a Chinese private entrepreneur, I got to know Deputy Minister Ma Jian in 2003. At that time, Wang Qishan, Liu Zhihua, and Meng Jianzhu attempted to steal the asset that had lawfully acquired. I reported their action to the government, and the Deputy Minister Ma Jian was assigned to the case. That is how we met, in their roles as a representative for the government. Deputy Ministers Ma Jian, CCP Chairman Hu Jintao, and a special task force got to the bottom of the matter, sentenced the vice mayors Liu Zhihua to death, and returned my asset to me. This demonstrates that Ma Jian follows the legal procedures and has a sense of justice. Ma Jian and his case have helped me to understand the evil nature of the CCP and their various threat to the world. This includes their 3F plan against the US, foment weakness, foment chaos, and foment the destruction of America, and their BGY plan. The BGY plan stands for blue, gold, and yellow. Blue represents internet and media control. Gold represents money and bribery used to buy influence. Yellow represents the use of honey trap to compromise espionage targets. I now understand that there are various long-term, hostile strategies towards the United States. For all of this, I'm very grateful to Ma Jian and respect him a great deal. Wang Qishan, Meng Jianzhu, and others who held the power during the 18th and the 19th terms of the Chinese Congress, thought Ma Jian possessed all the information about their sex scandals, crimes, and corruption. Information about Wang Qishan being the actual controllers behind the HNA group, Meng Jianzhu being suspected of the multiple killings in Southeast Asia, and having an illegitimate son, Zhu Lou, who along with former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak, conspires to default the Chinese and Malaysia government of the tens and billions of the yuan in Malaysia. As someone else who knew these details, I too have been hunted down and falsely accused by them. Because of what I know, they have made up hundreds of false charges against me, but all of their efforts have failed. This fact has proven that they are an illegitimate criminal government and a kleptocratic political group that has kidnapped 1.4 billion Chinese people. Fourth, the CCP's media activities in the United States, the United Kingdom, and around the world over the past 4 years further prove the fact that they feared Ma Jian's investigation into their corruption. Liu Yanping, in his roles as one of the highest authorities within China's state securities and intelligence departments, was accompanied by 3 others when he visited me twice in London. He also visited me at my home in New York in May 2017. The content of that conversation was recorded. Thus, there is evidence that the case against Ma Jian was a sham. He was framed by the CCP authorities as part of their attempt to do away with the witness. Moreover, the CCP suspected that I have file number 91, which contains all the secrets and videos obtained during Mr. Ma Jian's investigation of corruption officials over the years, especially those involving celebrities in China. This includes investigation relating to the information about the illegitimate children and enormous wealth in Malaysia, the United States, Europe, Australia, Japan, and other countries. They worried that I have more criminal evidence against Wang Qishan, Meng Jianzhu, and the current leaders, and the fact that they have killed people and have stolen the nation's wealth cannot be repudiated. In the past 4 years, dozens of legal cases were launched by the CCP against me in New York. So far, most of these cases have been proven to be fabricated. They arrested my family's members and my staff, then interrogated them, then arrested them again, and sentenced them. They repeatedly broke the legs of my employees and crippled them. All of these facts and developments prove that they are using my family and Ma Jian's family to threaten us, unquestionably forcing us to cooperate with them in framing Ma Jian and handing over the information they need, and preventing us from telling the Western free world the truth about their kleptocratic crimes. They used the crime of corrosive trading to convict Ma Jian. All of the key witnesses committed perjury and provided false evidence under the threats of losing their freedom or being killed. In particular, the key witness in the case worked under the former Deputy Minister of Ministry of the State Security, Ma Jian. He was the State Security Section Chief, Gao Hui. He has already been tortured to death in prison. My employees and interested parties were in custody for 3 years. They committed perjury and signed the statement because of threats to their families. This does not constitute admissible evidence under any legal systems or in any country. Their testimony was illegally obtained and untrue. Fifth, the fact that the most officials on the task force assigned to Ma Jian's case, which has been established for 4 years, have themselves been arrested for corruption, proves that the Ma Jian's case was purely political and should serve as the quintessential case for understanding the corruption of the Communist Party. Fraud, cheating shareholders and cheating the state. Founder securities companies whose major shareholders are members of the Politburo of the CCP and the members of the standing committees' families, played key roles in Ma Jian's bribery case. Li You, the former CEO and the director of the founder group, and dozens of his employees were all acquitted and returned home about 3 years ago, as Liu spent 1 billion yuan to bribe Dalian's vice mayors Liu Leguo and the chief justice of the Dalian Xingang court, Jiang Mingpeng, who were both in charge of the case at the time. Liu Leguo and Jiang Mingpeng have since been arrested and sentenced. This is an exemplary case, and the best evidence of criminals fighting crimes within the criminal government. It is fact that my partner and I lost tens of billions of RMB as a result of Ma Jian's so-called crime of coercive trading and authenticating the transactions and whether profits were received is the most fundamental basis for judging the case. Everyone can find the relevant information on the public network. Ma Jian and Guo Wengui made no profit. Only Beijing University and founder groups, the CCP Politburo Standing Committee members, shareholders benefited. Being charged with the crime of coercive trading despite losing tens of billions of yuan sets a very absurd and dark judicial precedent in China. It was successful fabricated via coercion, extortion, and inducement under the threat of murder and annihilation. Guo Wengui hereby solemnly states that Mr. Ma Jian and I never had any shared financial benefits or mutual political interest. We have never had an official relationship or working relationship, nor have Ma Jian and I together ever committed any crime or harmed any other person. Sixth, for the sake of the world peace and the China's future, I, Guo Wengui, hereby call upon the United States, Europe, Australia, Japan, and all the members of the Communist Party in China to jointly demand a lawful, fair, and transparent re-investigation of the various case in which Mr. Ma Jian or Guo Wengui are suspects, including those involving all persons and assets in the aforementioned countries. For this involves the national security and economic security of the aforementioned nations. Number 1. As long as there is third-party supervision and any investigation is in compliance with the legal procedures, I, Guo Wengui, will actively participate and cooperate unconditionally. Number 2. I, Guo Wengui, will unconditionally support and cooperate with anyone from any country or organization who would like to discover the truth about these cases. Number 3. I, Guo Wengui, will do whatever it takes, even it costs my life, to release the files number 91, the one that kleptocrats fear most, and the truth about recent corruption in China. No one can stop this. This is the only way we can make the world safe and the Chinese people safe under the rule of law. Number 4. Everyone who works with those who have hijacked the Chinese regime and the Chinese kleptocracy, including those who interrogate Ma Jian and those who have plundered my assets and will soon be expropriating my assets, will be fairly treated and judged under the international law. We will never stop or give up until we achieve our goal. Number 5. Based upon the facts relating to this case over the past 4 years, and the suffering I and the millions of others have endured, I am actually aware that I must do my utmost to transform China's political system as soon as possible by getting rid of the CCP in order to realize a China under the rule of law and a China with a faith. I know even more clearly that if the Communist Party system is not topped and the kleptocracy group in China not completely changed, it will be a disaster for 1.4 billion Chinese, and it will become the world's biggest security threat. The situation faced by 1.4 billion Chinese people today will be faced by the people in Western democratic countries tomorrow. That is why overthrowing the CCP has become my life struggle and my sole purpose. This is especially true now that after these 2 years of the exposes, I have won the support of overwhelmingly majority of 1.4 billion grassroots, ordinary Chinese. That is the main reason the CCP is afraid and has framed me. This, however, has also strengthened my ultimate goal to overthrow the CCP, and this goal will never change. December 27th, 2018. 郭文贵。Thanks for watching. Please subscribe The Voice of Go Media.